Things at Supermax are getting a little bit spicy. Here are our thoughts on the recent debacle. Now guys, we do not own any shares mentioned on the slides. And of course, now what we say should be financial advice. Hey guys, if you're interested in building a 6 to 7 figure portfolio using the power of stock investing, head over to the comment section or the description to sign up for our free masterclass so that we share with you exactly how we do it. So let's start off this week in Bursa with Supermax. This is a company I used to own. In fact, I think it's probably up to date, the company that has made me the highest returns in terms of percentage, but that was 2-3 years ago. Long time has happened since then. Recently, of course, there was a boardroom struggle, not a disagreement, I wouldn't say struggle, between the Thais, father and daughter. She's a 35-year-old lady who disagreed, right, on some of the jet practices of the company.
Yes, exactly. So this is what actually happened. Basically, the daughter, who is Cecile, basically she disagreed that, I think she's the only one, or maybe one of the few, that disagree for the Mr. Stanley to actually buy this new aircraft, which is the Falcon X. But we don't know what's the series of that Falcon X, but this is just one of the picture of it. It's basically like a private jet. Yeah, so he wants to buy this new aircraft to replace a new one. The old one, for about 210 million. Now, so we won't go through the entire disagreement, because she actually wrote down every single details, right? Yeah. Of basically the father silenced her, but we don't know whether that's true or not, because we need to hear both sides of the story. So this is her side of the story. But yeah, we just focus on whether this 210 million purchase, is it good for the company or not? Yeah. Right. So here are some of the numbers. The latest quarter that Supermax reported, they have about 2.6 billion in cash. Yes. Yeah.
But we have to net off about 750, right? Because of the capital commitment. Correct. For those who don't know, basically they were committed to spend this amount in the US, I believe.
Yes, US and also Malaysia, right? Yeah.
To build new factories. They committed it during the glove boom. So it seems like they can't pull out, unfortunately. So really, the cash is probably closer to 2 billion, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if you net off everything, right, the capital commitments and also the debt that they have, the net cash is looking about 1.7 billion. Yes. So, but then if let's say they buy that aircraft, right, it's gonna net them at about 1.5 billion, which is still quite a big amount of cash inside their balance. So yeah, I think so far the decision to buy that aircraft seems to be still okay. It's not like the best, but then it is still.
How much the aircraft again? Sorry,
about 210 million.
Okay, okay. Yeah, this is what Cecile is suggesting,
she was actually rejecting the idea of getting the new aircraft because it's I think she see that as not really it doesn't really bring good to the company. It's it's just a personal aircraft, unless they do a lot of traveling between here and there, which I don't know what is the use for this aircraft, because they didn't really mention, and we know that this is a private jet.
So I actually think that people who manage billion-dollar companies and they have the money to do it, they should actually get a jet, because it speeds things up. I believe even for someone like Bill Gates, I think he has 2 or 3 jets at once, because when he lands, he doesn't even want to wait for the plane to refuel. You just hop onto the next plane. You know what I mean? So I think it is in principle a good decision, because if you are international, you do need to fly around, not to be lavish or whatnot. Yeah. But I don't know why she was so against.
Yeah, this. Exactly. So it's both sides of the story. She doesn't feel like it's a good fit to the business. Then Mr. Stanley actually didn't think so. So yeah, it's a disagreement. So right now, we are actually looking at the business health, right? So they are actually in a loss, making about 102 million. And this is per quarter. And we're not sure whether this loss will actually be more or less in the next few quarters. But assuming, let's say 100 million, it is the maximum that they can lose, right, in a quarter. And then they have about 1.5 billion in cash. So that means that they have about 15 quarters or 3 years to actually stay alive, stay afloat.
Almost.
Yeah. So that's another like until 2026.
Yeah.
Which is where I believe JP Morgan actually stated that the supply and the demand will actually start to outstrip supply in 2026. Yeah. So yeah, it's actually good enough runway and time for them to actually survive. So this actually, all these internal rebuttal, right, actually caused the share price to actually dump about 17%. But if you look at other companies, other glove companies like Top Glove, Hata, and Kosan, right, they only like down like 8 to 10%.
Right.
So this one is like extra pain. Now, this is actually interesting because I believe that this rebuttal or disagreement will actually be resolved.
Yes.
So I'm not sure whether this is going to be like a good opportunity to capture at the bottom. Not financial advice, but it looks like the market is kind of like overreacting a little bit on this entire internal chaos. It's not really affecting the business fundamentals at the moment. But what do you think?
First of all, in principle, I'm not sure if CISO is rejecting a jet outright or that specific model, or maybe she thinks whether she rejects the jet or whether she thinks she's overspending is two different things.
Yes.
The jet, right?
I think the jet is just one of the many reasons. Because she also got they were outstripping her executive role to become like a non-executive, and then they are silencing her.
Right.
So I think this is just like the main headline is the jet. But there's a lot of factors like accumulated.
Well, there are two ways to look at it as far as the politics go, I think. One is that, so the one that makes her look good, obviously, is the story that she has painted, right? I think you can go read out. What. Now, the flip side, again, this is purely speculation, is that maybe she wants to take over the company faster, and she feels that the older generation is putting all these obstacles in place, and she may be using this jet issue as a way to highlight the potential incompetence or the misalignment of interest between, unfortunately, her dad or the board and the shareholders. Right? It could be what we call a social capital move, right?
Yep.
She is trying to gain social capital by doing this. So that's one aspect. Now, as far as the investment aspect, if you look, the market cap is about 2.3 billion. You're looking at free cash of about 1.5. So that leaves them with about 800 million of enterprise value. And eventually we know gloves will come back, right? So my view on gloves is that it has always been here to stay. What I find difficult is really finding when is the inflection point, i.e. when it's going to come. Wow, in a way, the past 3-4 months has been sort of that. But I think it might be a bit premature because there's no like super clear signs. Right? There's rumors, there's reports saying 2024, 2025, 2026. I don't know, right? So that's really the difficulty I have. And I think we've said this in previous video before, you actually do not have to make a decision. Nobody says that you have to say, like, you have to have an opinion on the thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we say, no, pass and move on.
Yep, exactly. So that is Supermax for you.
But guys, before we move on, if you're someone looking to level up their stock investing skills and you need a lot more guidance, we do have a one-on-one program called the Mentorship Program. If you're interested, you can apply it in the comment section or the description.
And the next company we're going to be looking at is SMRT.
Yeah, so SMRT is a very sad company. It's a company that I miss as well.
Yeah.
I found out about it at close to 20 cents, 17 February, I still remember. And didn't really take action. At that point in time, it was something like 130 million market cap. Now it's nearly 300 million.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at the recent uproar, right, so there's actually quite a huge bump, about 35% in just 8 days. Now, the reason why it actually recently went up so much is because the shareholders actually approved the board's plan to actually buy the entire stake and sell the 100% stake of their education business.
Yes.
So, actually it's nothing much out of the blue because this was actually already proposed like February. 2023, which is about 2 months ago. And then now, because when everything is under confirmed already, I think that's where shareholders got a little bit more excited on this kind of plan. So right now, we are actually valuing the company about 15 times PE. Now, this is assuming that they acquire the entire tech business. So this is the tech business revenue and their profit. So yeah, back then, I believe it was still like 6 times. Yeah, and now it actually went up like 2
When I told
times.
the team about it, I still remember it was about that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's actually a sad thing that is getting more and more overvalued over time already. Yeah, and yeah, that's the sad thing about SMRT. And it's nothing really much special. It's all about just confirmation on this disposal.
The thing is, it's not just that it's 15 PE for a tech company. You can say it's a tech company. And the key thing is that they're growing at like 30% every year.
Yeah, 30% bottom line.
That is the big story.
Yes, exactly.
And if they keep growing at 30% every year, you're looking at $1 billion market cap in, I would say, 5 years. If they keep growing.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that's SMRT. We're not gonna like advise you anything about financial advice, but this is just our view on it and the evaluation as well.
Yeah, and also maybe just to add, I always have this belief, because it's based on stats, right? For a company to go up 100% in a year is very, very rare. Okay, it is not common. And even if the company is good, i.e. the next 5 to 10 years is going to grow at 15, 20, 25% every year. Typically, if it goes up so quickly in a short span of time, even in a long-term upcycle, it will likely face a lot of volatility, downward pressure on the price, because that's just how it is, right? That's just the math.
Yes, exactly.
Very seldom you see a company goes up like 100% this year, next year another 100%, and 100%. Really rarely happens. Alright guys, enjoying the video so far? If the answer is yes, remember, like, comment, subscribe. And as far as comments go, if you don't like the video, do let us know as well. We always take all sorts of feedback, as long as they're constructive.
So the next company we're going to be looking at is Pharmaniaga. So yeah, Pharmaniaga also actually recently have a huge jump, about 41% in just a span of 2 to 3 weeks time. But overall, they are like down about 28% year to date. So why this actually went up like so much in such a short amount of time, right? Is because they actually have a concession agreement extended by the government, Ministry of Finance, right, to actually supply the medicine and medical supply for the next 10 more years. Yes. Until like 2033.
Yes.
So and Pharmaniaga actually did clarify that the Ministry of Health actually spent about 35% of their pharma spending to Pharmaniaga. So they're trying to clarify that they are not really a monopoly in this case, right? Like the government have to rely or be dependent on Pharmaniaga. So there's only like 35% of the spending, but it's still quite a huge amount. So that tells us that pharma is here to stay. It is hard for them to actually go under. So the only thing that we need to take note is the management that is managing Pharmaniaga right now, the company. We definitely need to see some, I would say like some good deliverability from them. If not, we need to see some change in board members. Potentially.
So what is interesting is that, you know, when we did the video, which you can watch over here, about almost 2 months back already, I think. The reason it fell was because they had to impair a lot of their COVID-related inventories, right, by a big few hundred million, and that pushed them into PN17 status. So what is very interesting, and this is really just an observation, is that now that the Ministry of Health has extended this concession agreement, which I don't think is related to...
it's not.
Or maybe not entirely.
And
then suddenly people got excited. So this is like one of the classic examples of how the market doesn't always make sense.
Yes, exactly.
Right, because it fell due to COVID-related inventories. So you would imagine for the company to go back up, it's because
they managed to like recoup all of the inventory losses.
Or some, I don't know. But this one is like not related, so it's a very weird.
Yeah, I think the market actually is, this is my point of view. Basically, I think they speculate that the government will give them any contracts or any like business with them already because of this issue.
Yes.
They want them to like solve it. But when the government announced that they are still agreed to work with Pharmaniaga, I think that's what get the assurance to the shareholders that the company is still here to stay. Yes. So they panicked when it fell. But when they see this like headline or positive news, then they start to like, oh, actually everything's okay. Then they just buy all the way up. Yeah. So yeah, this is the final takeaway for these three companies. So the first one is Supermax problem, whether is it temporary or permanent problem. Personally, I see this as a temporary one.
Yes.
It will be, I mean, I believe you forget this Thai saga in about like 1 month or two already when there's another interesting news pop up. So it's not really going to be a permanent one. So, but that's just our own opinion. Maybe you have a different take. Then the second one is more on SMRT's valuation.
Yep.
Whether 15 times PE, it is expensive or cheap to you, while considering that they are growing at 30% bottom line every single year. So you need to see whether they can meet this growth rate in the next few years. If it can, probably the evaluation would be still quite exciting and quite cheap. Yeah, and the last one is more on Pharmaniaga's recovery, whether have their PN17 can be solved or not, because right now it's still like it's still in the pending process. They're still like trying to solve this issue. But yeah, we shall see in the next few months whether they will find a way to actually manage to get them out of PN17. So yeah, I am Jenny. Let's take away.
That's it. But you know, we talked about SMRT for our own internal group.
Yes.
And I think even in our Telegram group for our FIRL Pro program. Quite early on. So even though we missed it, if you are part of our FIRL Pro program, you had the chance to not miss it, to not make the mistake that we made. You know, which is why we want to just talk a little bit about the FIRL Pro program, right? It's basically we just write reports that are easy to digest, quick to digest, so that you can really speed up your decision making when it comes to investments. You know, investments can be quite complicated. And sometimes you don't know what is important and what's not. And so we are here to help you through this program to aid in that process. So here's some of the performances. I think, I'm not sure if it's better or worse for April. I think probably
I think it's better a bit.
Better, is it? Okay, yeah, it's a little bit better. Some stocks went down quite a bit. Some stocks went up as well. The Telegram is actually very good, right? All of them are actually in the positive right now so far. It's basically it's a portfolio more for short-term gains where we can't really write a report because it's short-term, right? It takes time to write a report. So if you want to check it out, you know, before committing anything, you can check the free samples, see whether it's something that really suits your fancy. And with that, guys, thank you for staying all the way until the end. And I hope to see you in the next video.